2025 Tour de France is officially in the books. And let's be honest, the final winner? Yeah, pretty much what we all saw coming. But don't let that fool you. Predictability at the top didn't stop this year's tour from being one of the most thrilling, record-breaking and jaw-dropping editions in recent years. This year was stacked with moments that made us sit up and shout. We're talking records shattered, some that lasted less than 24 hours, stage wins from riders nobody had on their radar, a team claiming its first ever stage victory, and a brutal stage featuring not one, not two, but 3 of the 4 most climbed peaks in Tour history. And the stats? Some of them were so wild, you'd think they were pulled out of a fantasy game. But here's the twist. We're not starting with Tadej Pogacar. Why? Because what he did this year was so monumental, so historic, and he deserved his own spotlight at the end of the video. Trust me, you're gonna wanna stick around for that. Have you ever wondered just how many cyclists have braved the roads, the climbs and the chaos of the Tour de France since it all began way back in 1903? Well, buckle up, because that number is as epic as the race itself. 5,449 riders have lined up at the start line of cycling's most legendary event. And in 2025, 49 faces joined the peloton for the very first time. 49 riders living the dream, breathing in the mid and making their debut on the sport's biggest stage. But here's where it gets wild. Out of the 184 riders who started this year's tour, only 12 crossed the finish line less than an hour behind the winner. That's not just a number, that's historic. This year's pace was so brutal, the breakaways so relentless, the mountain stages so unforgiving that only 12 riders could keep it up within an hour of the eventual champion. It wasn't just a race, it was survival. In 2025, history was made again. This year's tour featured the shortest time trial ever recorded, just 10.9 kilometers long. For the 5th year in a row, a Dutch rider claimed a stage win at the tour. That's 5 consecutive tours with orange on the podium, and for 5 straight tours now, Belgian riders have won at least 5 stages every single year. That's not a fluke, that's a golden generation. In fact, Belgium has been the most victorious nation of the past 5 years. We call it a dynasty in motion. 5 years, 5 tours, 5 wins. Now let's talk green jersey, because we've got a new name in town. Jonathan Milan has officially arrived. In 2025, he clinched the points classification for the very first time in his career. That makes him the youngest Italian to do it since Francesco Moser in 1975. That's 50 years of history vanished away. But while Milan put on the green jersey, Jasper Philipsen had to take his off. He became only the 8th rider in the Tour history to retire while leading the points classification. A reminder of how brutal and unforgiving this race can be, even for the fastest sprinters in the world. Ireland has a new star, and his name is Ben Healy. At just 24 years, 9 months and 29 days old, he became the 2nd youngest Irish rider ever to win a Tour de France stage. Only one man was younger, Sean Kelly, a legend in his own right. Stage 11 gave us one of those rare moments where a bold move from kilometer 0 paid off. Jonas Abrahamsen, riding for UNOX Mobility, didn't wait. From the very first pedal stroke, he launched. And once he was gone, he never looked back. He spent nearly 157 kilometers out in the front. And when the dust settled, it was Abrahamsen across the line. Not just a win, but UNOX Mobility's very first stage victory at the Tour de France. Back in 2021, 3 riders etched their names into the Tour de France history. Mathieu van der Poel, Tim Merlier and Ben O'Connor. 3 first-time stage winners. And then, silence. 4 years, that's how long they waited to taste victory again. After stage 18 of the 2025 Tour, each one of them claimed another Tour stage 4 years after their breakthrough moment. And for Ben O'Connor, the win was something extra special. His victory came at Col della Lotse, a brutal climb that tops out at over 2,300 meters above sea level. That's higher than any point in his home country of Australia. And here's a wild fact. This is only the second time an Australian has ever won a Tour stage above 2000 meters. And guess who did it for the first time? Ben O'Connor, back in 2021. In 2025, stage 14 wasn't just another day on the bike. It was the heartbeat of a new era. On paper, it looked like a classic showdown. But it was a stage packed with history, records, and one downright bizarre coincidence. Before we even get to the numbers, let's talk about the monsters on this stage. In one stage, 3 of the 4 most legendary climbs in the Tour de France history. That's not a route, that's a rite of passage. And what a way to pass it! Tadej Pogacar conquers the day. This was his first ever Tour de France stage win and the 4th professional victory of his career. With this triumph, Abrahamsen becomes the 68th Dutch cyclist to win a stage at the Tour, contributing to the Netherlands' impressive total of 169 stage victories. A proud day for Dutch cycling and a name added to a long legacy. But here's where it gets historic. Lenny Martinez just pulled off something no one has done since 1934. At just 22 years and 8 days old, he became the second youngest rider ever to summit the Col de Tourmalet. The only rider to do it younger? Ventoux, way back in the pre-war days of 1934. That's over 90 years of history smashed on the slopes of the Tourmalet. Remember when I told you about a stat that sounds almost too perfect to be real? Here it is. After stage 14, the top 5 riders in the general classification were Pogacar, Vingegaard, Lipovic, Only and Vauclin. Their average age? 25 years and 163 days. Now check this out. In 2024, after stage 14, the top 5 riders, Pogacar, Vingegaard, Evenepoel, Almeida and Rodriguez, also had an average age of 25 years and 163 days. Identical. 2 years in a row, different riders, same average. Let's talk young blood. Stage 16 gave us the youngest podium of the entire race. Valentin Parepantru, Ben Healy and Santiago Buitrago. Combined, they had an average age of 25 years and 30 days. That made them the youngest trio ever to finish on the podium at Mont Ventoux, smashing a record that had stood since 1970. But then stage 17 came in and said, hold my bidon. Because Jonathan Milan, Jordi Meus and Tobias Lund Andresen outdid them with an average age of 24 years and 346 days. You blink and a record falls. That's 2025. This tour isn't just about winning, it's about rewriting history every single day. 3 legendary climbs, 2 record-breaking podiums, 1 statistical glitch in the matrix and a future generation rising fast. And now, Tadej Pogacar. Where do you even start with a rider who keeps rewriting the record books every time he climbs on a bike? This was his 6th consecutive Tour de France with at least 1 stage win. In stage 4, 2025, Tadej Pogacar claims his 100th professional win, an insane milestone. The next day, Remco Evenepoel took the stage, and just like that, for the first time in history, 2 different world champions won Tour stages back to back. Never happened before. But wait, Pogacar wasn't done. This year he joined the most elite of elite. He became only the 5th rider in history to lead the general classifications, the points classification and the mountains classification at the same time. Stage 7, another record. He became the 3rd rider ever to win at least 2 stages in each of his first 6 tours. You know who the other 2 are? Nicolas Franz and a guy you may heard of, Eddy Merckx. Stage 17, another major milestone. Pogacar wore the yellow jersey for the 50th time. At just 26 years and 305 days, he is the 2nd youngest rider to hit that number. Only Merckx got that earlier by just a couple of months. And as if that wasn't enough, the very next day, he set yet another benchmark. Pogacar became the first rider ever to reach 150 total leaders jersey across all classifications. That pushes him past Peter Sagan, who held 148. And then came the cherry on top. With this fourth Tour de France victory, Pogacar has now equaled Chris Froome. He's the youngest rider in history to win 4 yellow jerseys at just 26 years, 10 months and 6 days. Merckx reached 4 slightly later, 27 years, 1 month and 6 days. Led that rivalry echo in the record books. But here's the jaw-dropper. Pogacar has now stood on the podium in every one of his first 8 Grand Tours. And in the Tour de France, he's been on the podium 6 times in a row. 6! No one's ever done that before. And alongside Jonas Vingegaard, the two have now shared top 2 finishes in general classifications 5 years in a row, a rivalry unlike anything we ever seen in modern cycling. Tadej Pogacar isn't just building a legacy, he's chasing ghosts, and at this rate, he might just catch them.